A federal judge may rule by mid-November on whether to block New York's plan to allow illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses.
Channel 2's Dave McKinley was in court to hear 2 hours worth of arguments from both sides over the so-called green light law today.
On one side, those who say if your first act coming into this country was to break the law by entering illegally, you shouldn't get the privilege of obtaining a driver's license, especially without forms of ID required by everyone else. On the other, those, some of whom came from across the state to watch today, who say that because those individuals are already here and already driving, it would be best to make sure they're proficient in operating a motor vehicle and insured.
So that our roads are safer and we're able to improve our economy.
Erie County Clerk Mickey Kearns operates local DMVs on behalf of the state and brought the suit challenging the law. A state lawyer argued he has no standing because he faces no harm. But the county lawyer representing Kearns says that's not true because if Kearns refuses to obey the state and grant the licenses through his office,
he faces the very real prospect of a proceeding to be removed from his office as clerk by the governor and the attorney general.
And if he complies,
he would be potentially exposing himself to prosecution under the federal anti-harboring, anti-concealing, and anti-shielding law.
He notes part of the green light law would prohibit an agent of the DMV, such as Kearns, from sharing immigration information on customers with federal authorities. And even if ICE agents should inquire on their own, it would also require the DMV to then notify that person that ICE is asking about them.
And who then obviously is alerted. ICE is looking for me.
The judge spent quite a bit of time on that aspect, asking at one point, if an illegal alien comes in and reveals their status to Mr. Kearns, could he not argue he'd be concealing their status and thus being in violation of the harboring statute while giving them an affirmative form of identity and paperwork, making it easier for them to stay in the U.S.? She further asked, as a citizen, can't he call up and say, we have an illegal alien here, can you come and pick them up? This prompted a representative of the state attorney general to reply in court today that Mr. Kearns can freelance as an ICE agent if he wants, but not while acting as an agent of the state. The U.S. Justice Department has also indicated it will intervene on Kearns' behalf in his lawsuit. Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
All right, Dave, thank you. We also got to speak with legal analyst and former state attorney general Dennis Vacco about the case today. He says it is a very complicated case and could even get input from the Department of Justice.
So I don't think that this is an easy case for Judge Wolford, which is why I'm not surprised that she reserved decision today. And perhaps she's also waiting. I'm not necessarily privy to whether or not the Department of Justice has formally weighed into the case yet or not, but I do expect if they haven't, that the Department of Justice will want to be heard on this case.
Now, if the original timetable remains, the green light law is set to go into effect in December.